We get started? We'll see if she's, you ready?
Maybe it hadn't been passed.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, April 15th. My name is Dan Holbeck. I'm the Vice Chair of the Planning Board, but in the absence of our chair, I will be acting as chair tonight. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll proceed with the agenda. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, we have a pretty straightforward agenda tonight. We have one item of new business, which is the Harpswell Heritage Land Trust, and an application for a new non-residential wharf in a resource protection district. So before we get started, we have to establish a quorum and introduce people. Shall we just go around and just tell us who you are?
I'm Debbie Forrester.
I'm Dan Holbeck.
Courtney Snellings.
Heather Allen.
And I'm Margaret McIntyre, the town planner.
Okay, I believe that both Debbie and Heather are associate members of the planning board.
No, you're a full member. I'm a full member. She's
You're a full member?
Well, Lori.
Yeah, she'll
Lori
go-
Rice.
Yeah, she kind of got.
Well, you see, that's what happens when I miss one meeting.
Yeah.
Is Jim an associate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, as an associate, you're a voting member tonight.
Yes.
Which establishes our quorum, so we can proceed. Okay, no items of old business, so the first item of business is our new business, item 260401, Harpswell Heritage Land Trust, map 79, lot 31, 0 Birch Road. This is a site plan review, consideration of an application for a new non-residential wharf in the Resource Protection District. Margaret, would you like to get us started on this?
Yeah, so this application came to us from Flycatcher, and they applied for a new residential wharf on a property that is owned by the Land Trust. And because it's a new non-residential structure, it has to go through site plan review. And then the more I kind of looked at it, the whole property is a non-residential use that had not gone through site plan review before. So I thought it was really interesting. The change of use occurred maybe 10 years ago, or I can't remember exactly when it was bought.
Okay.
2016. I
yeah.
think, Yeah.
So there was this change of use that didn't get approved by the planning board, and now they want to add a new non-residential structure, and it seemed to me that kind of that opens up the whole lot for review under site plan review. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask I have many questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked in the site plan review ordinance, and I did not see how to change from residential to non-residential. It was not very clearly put in there. A search didn't come up with anything. How in the heck would you know to do that, and how would you do it? I'm wondering.
You would apply for site plan review? So
I couldn't find anything unless you had a non-conforming structure. I couldn't find anything about that in the site plan review ordinance.
okay.
So I wondered,
So the site
How
plan
would you
review
know?
ordinance applies to the following activities whenever they occur in town. This, for the wharf, it would be the construction or placement of any new structure for a non-residential use, including accessory structures.
Okay.
So that captures the wharf.
right,
And then the establishment of a new non-residential use or the expansion of an existing non-residential use, even if no structures are proposed, including uses such as gravel pits, cemeteries, golf courses, campgrounds, and other non-structural, non-residential uses. So I think that would kind of cover the property itself, And then you have,
And what number was that, please?
in the site plan review ordinance, it's section 3 under applicability.
Thank you.
And then you have the conversion of an existing structure in whole or in part from a residential use to a non-residential use except for home occupations, and so that would be the shed. So you kind of have like the grounds, the shed, and then you're adding a wharf.
But the shed, nothing's happening with the shed, right? It's just there and predated Harpswell Heritage's
Right.
getting it. So that, I don't see that's in their bailiwick because it was
But it
an
changed use.
existing structure.
It changed use from residential when the previous owner had it to non-residential when the land trust opened their.
Huh. So even though nobody resided in the shed, it still changed from residential to
Right, the
non-residential.
use changed, because it was, and it was
Okay.
accessory to a residential use, now it's accessory to a non-residential use.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that it's one of those things that would have been easy to fall through the cracks had they not wanted to add another structure, and so it kind of opens up this whole review
Yeah.
process. It just would have been easier if it had gone through site plan review before, because then all we would be doing is talking about an amendment.
Well, that's one of the reasons why people end up here.
Yeah.
So, okay, but before we do that, I think we have to start as a preliminary matter to determine whether the application is complete.
Sure.
And we have a set of submission requirements, which are shown in the supplemental application. The date I have on this is April 9, 2026.
Are
So
you
I-
talking about completeness?
Yeah,
Because she did a completeness.
No, that came from the applicant.
The thing, really, the applicant,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. All right.
so I guess my question, first of all, for Margaret is, do you agree with the applicant's statements about whether the information that they've submitted is complete? In terms of, yes, it's applicable, or whether we ought to be granting a waiver? For example, location of intersecting roads or driveways, you know, to waive that.
Which number is that?
7.
Which number?
It's at the top of page 4.
Oh, wait a minute, that's
Wait.
7,
Oh.
oh, okay, I'm way down here.
There's one on page 2, but I guess that's
On
not
page
it.
4. Go to page 4. Top of page 4.
That's 14.2 existing conditions. No, that's not it. Yes.
It is.
14.2 existing conditions, number 7, to waive the location of existing roads. And then 9, under that same section, direction of existing water service drainage, to waive that.
Yes, I think given the fact that they're not really doing any development, I think that would be totally appropriate.
Existing lighting and signs, 10, waive that. 11, location of the nearest fire hydrant, waive that. Then proposed development activity, 14.3, number 1. Estimated demand for water supply, waive that. Surface drainage plan, since there are no changes proposed, waive that. Description of solid, special, or hazardous waste. Since no waste is collected on site, waive that. 5, existing and proposed landscaping and buffering, no changes there, so waive that. 8 is not applicable, location of proposed signs. 9, location of exterior lighting, no changes, so waive that. Location of utilities, no changes, so waive that. 12, estimate of the amount, type of impact of peak hour or daily traffic, that's a good one. Waive that. 13, stormwater calculations, since there's no change, waive that. And I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
with the things that they have submitted and the waivers, do you deem the application to be complete?
Yes.
You thought about that for a moment.
Yeah, because I kind of think it goes back, I have questions about the shed. And so, but yes, I think the application is complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we establish that the application is complete before moving on to other things here.
I mean,
Okay.
do we have to go back to the fact that it was not specifically changed from residential to non-residential? I mean, you mentioned that,
That's
so.
where I think it gets a little complicated because we're approving like retroactively a change of use and also the new structure. But we can talk about that after we deem it complete.
But that isn't a question about the completeness
Right.
of the application, that's just a question of how we act on it. Okay, so,
Well, the application is just for the wharf, it's not for the change of use.
Right, the problem is that
Assuming the change of use.
it should have been.
Right.
There should have been something before this, so that's
I
why I said, do we have to
Yeah.
go back?
yeah, and the reason why we go through this is that there are some times when applications come through that are missing some very essential parts. And rather than going through things, a lot of discussion before we have a complete application, it makes sense to make sure that everybody at least starts on the same page. Okay. Do we need a motion for that? Okay. I would move that the planning board finds that the application is complete. Is there support?
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Oh.
We have to,
Complete, including the waivers granted.
yes,
Okay. Then I'll list the waivers in the notice of decision.
very good, thank
Great.
you. Discussion? All in favor?
No, we can't do that, because we have somebody
Yeah.
online, so we have to do it by name.
That's where I was going.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We-
So sorry.
Okay. Because we are doing a Zoom meeting, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do you-
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Courtney Snelling's aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now let's get into the meat.
So when I get an application, this one came to us because the wharf is technically in resource protection. And I wanted to kind of explain how we got to that conclusion because it's not intuitive how we determine that it's in resource protection. So it's not mapped on our shoreline zoning map as RP. It's supposed to be, we went through this process, but our maps didn't get updated. It's kind of in a holding pattern. But if you go in the shoreline zoning ordinance, section 13.1, section 13 is establishment of districts. 13.1 is establishment of resource protection districts. It says, this district shall include the areas listed below when they occur within the limits of the shoreline zone, except areas which are developed and areas which meet the criteria for a shoreline business or commercial fishing need not be included within the RP district. So basically, we can exclude commercial fishing districts and shoreline business districts. And we're left with shoreline residential. So this island is zoned shoreline residential. Then we go down to number 2, areas within the shoreline zone that are also within the 100-year floodplains adjacent to tidal waters as shown on the FEMA flood insurance rate maps. Whether or not those areas are depicted on the official shoreline zoning map or is determined by a survey performed by a licensed surveyor. So then, if you look at the
Yes, that was one of these.
flood map, does anybody have one handy?
Yeah, there was something.
Is
Is it this one?
No, it's, here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's in your stack here. It is is from me, this one. So, this map, it's really, I tried to blow it up a little bit, but this is a flood map. It shows you see like kind of this little nub. So the black line is where, is half tide maybe, I can't remember, the shoreline. And then the white line is the boundary of the flood zone. So it's where the flood zone is going over the land. Does that make sense? So it basically shows this whole area in the flood zone. So where the dock's going to go is in the flood zone. Where the shed is also in the flood zone. And where they're landing, and I don't know if that's where your camping area also is in, I don't know where you have a camping spot there, but all of that kind of heavy activity where they expect people to land and come ashore is all in this flood zone, so it's all zoned resource protection.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we started. So we got to the point where we know this whole little peninsula is resource protection. So then I went to the land use table in the shoreline zoning map,
Yes.
which is section 14. And if you go to
Yep.
number 18 on the list, non-commercial piers, in resource protection, they're allowed with planning board approval. So we know that we have the authority to grant, it's allowed use in RP, and the planning board has the authority to review that, not the code officer.
Right.
So that's how all these wharves and RP end up with us. And then when we talk about the change of use from residential to non-residential, that is, for the land trust, it would be institutional, which I can read you the definition of.
Yeah, that's 15.5. I saw that today and was concerned, as well as 15.6, small non-residential facilities for marine, scientific, or nature-related purposes. Both of those say no for resource protection.
Right, so institutional is a nonprofit or quasi-public use, or institutions such as a church, library, public or private schools, hospital, or municipally owned or operated building, structure, or land for public purposes. So I think that I would say this falls under an institutional use. A land use for public purposes. And when I got to that, it says, like as Courtney just said, an institutional use is not allowed in RP. So I got a little bit hung up on this idea of the use, the change of use. Yeah, and that's kind of where I wanted, I think to decide to allow the more, the change of use, can we allow it in the RP area? Is that a good, like looking at the big picture, is that where you want to direct the use on this property into areas, an area that should be protected?
In terms of use, what do you typically think of when you think of use?
What do you mean?
I mean, when you, do you think of use primarily as anything that goes on there? Or are you thinking more in terms of what can be built there?
I think both.
Okay.
I mean, we're looking at trails here,
We are, but yes.
which, to my mind, is a low-impact use, especially since you can't drive there. You have to get there by boat. So, and I understand that it isn't, AI told me that, hey, you got to do what you can. That a land trust was considered, would be institutional use. But in my mind, that's a lot different than some other kinds of institutional uses. So I felt uncomfortable with that, just saying no because it's in resource protection. I mean, we have people, we've okayed docks that have been in resource protection before. I mean, it would be nice to think that you'd get a gazillion people on a preserve, but I don't even know how many people would access this.
And the dock is allowed in RP. It's just it's the institutional use that's not allowed.
Yeah, that bothers me.
And it was annoying to me, the fact that the shoreline zoning ordinance uses commercial versus non-commercial piers, and the site plan review ordinance uses residential versus non-residential. So it's a different definition altogether.
Yeah, welcome to the ordinances.
So that's some of the research that I did. I looked to see if this property had originally gone through a change of use, which it I couldn't find any records of it. But then I go through the planning office, code office, and the assessor's office, looking for some of the history of the property, the permits, any lot lines that might have been amended, and any other information that there might be.
But even if it had gone through a change of use, regardless of whether that had gone through before, it does not change what the rules are concerning putting in a dock. Is that correct?
Correct, right.
Okay. So we're adding another step, but it doesn't change the criteria for whether we can put a dock there, right?
It does not change the criteria under the shoreline zoning ordinance. Right, because the shoreline zoning ordinance allows a dock to be an RP.
But not for an institution.
Right.
That's where we're hung up here.
And what would the rationale be for allowing a residential dock as opposed to not allowing an institutional one?
It's the use, not the structure.
So I'm assuming it would be, this is just my guess, heavy use, because you'd expect an institution to have heavier use than someone living in a house. Even if they have 30 people over
Right.
for the summer, it's still,
Where do you want to direct the public here on this preserve? Do you want to direct them? All their use is directed into this area that's supposed to be protected.
I see what you're saying. The dock is going into the resource protection area, and there may be other alternatives.
Well, that and the shed, and this is where everybody's encouraged to congregate and gather on this property, where in this area that's not supposed to be used in this way. The dock, I think, is
The least of
the least of the issues. But, you kind of get to this dock application, and then you come up with all these other questions,
Right.
auxiliary questions.
And
Well,
if the dock were to be built on the north side of the property, would that's not resource protection?
I think a portion of it is, because it's going to be in the flood zone's going to come over the land typically for some amount, some distance.
Right, and here the line is very close to the land. I don't know.
So I think it is your question whether the dock could be relocated outside of a resource protection zone?
Yes, or to not outside of such a large
But that doesn't,
resource protection zone.
yeah, because if it wasn't in resource protection, I think it would change things up. Because it's the RP column we're looking at.
wouldn't the shed still be in the same place?
Well, we're not,
Okay, okay.
let's not talk about the
Okay.
shed.
I think the shed is a question of mine, that is for sure.
Maybe we start with the applicant, and there's lots of questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, all right,
I can provide it.
okay, you've been patiently waiting.
We don't even.
I know this was going to be more of a workshop base, but I can just provide a quick update.
Thank you.
I'm Kelly Waddle with Flycatcher here on behalf of the applicant Harpswell Heritage Land Trust, who is proposing to construct a dock on Birch Island, which is the Helen and Walter Norton Preserve. The project purpose is to construct a safe dock to provide visitors better access to the preserve as well as boat access, which they do not currently have. The dock would consist of a 6-foot wide by 20-foot long pier, which would be pinned to ledge, a 4-foot wide by 50-foot long seasonal ramp, and a 12-foot wide by 24-foot long seasonal float. The pier has been designed to avoid and minimize impacts as much as possible to the coastal wetland. The ramp and float would be seasonal, so taken out of the coastal wetland in the off-season and put in an upland location. No eelgrass beds will be impacted or salt marsh for this wharf. Yeah, it's a pretty short pier for the area, and it's also in the same exact location as the previous dock was.
Do you know how large the previous dock was?
Based on aerial imagery, I'm pretty sure it was, I actually don't know the exact length, do you know? But we tried to keep it fairly similar.
Okay.
I have another question about the dock. It looks to me like the previous dock was it just a seasonal ramp and float, but you're adding a fixed pier, is that true?
Right, yeah, I think the safest way to go from that upland to access the shore would be to put a permanent pier there.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I like Debbie's idea of, is there, I have trouble with maps, I mean, I was like, is there a place on the property that is not within resource protection? Forget, let's not even think about where the shed is or any of that kind of thing. Let's just, is there a place where a dock could be put that would not be in the resource protection?
I would have to check the maps as well, but I'm pretty sure that whole,
Yeah, I can't tell where the, I see this, but I don't see where the property is. I mean, all of the maps have different parts to them,
right.
and I couldn't make them go together.
Yeah, based on our research, we designed it to be in that spot because it would be the best place to access the preserve.
Understood, but
Yeah.
if one can't be put there, the question would be, is there another spot?
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to look at the maps a little more thoroughly just to
Fair
see what
enough.
kind of access they could have over there. But, I mean, we did do a pretty thorough walk around, and that would be the best.
Right.
Well, there are a number of existing trails on that property right now.
That, I'm gonna let, you might know a little more.
There is one.
Do you-
State your name and approach the microphone.
Sure thing. Matt Newberg, Harpswell Heritage Land Trust. There is one loop trail, just one that sort of loops around.
And where does that loop, I guess my question is, does that loop naturally end where you're talking about putting in the dock?
It does, yep.
Okay.
It begins and ends there. There's one other place where it accesses a point on the north side of the island, and that is incredibly shallow at low tide, so it is not an appropriate place to put a dock. That area that we're describing, as Kelly pointed out, is really the only reasonable place on our property for a dock.
Did you folks put in the trail? Hi. Did you put in the trail, or was it already there?
There's somebody on the call that maybe will answer that even better than I. Birch Island, as you know, has a very long history of use, There's a boat, there was a casino there at one point, believe it or not.
Okay.
So there's a lot of existing and historic trails.
Okay.
And I don't know what was there prior, but I think there have always been some connections around the island.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I guess my question in terms of when we're talking about the amount of use and possible disruption of the area, if we already have an area that is established in terms of a loop trail, as opposed to just starting one where people are going off in a number of different areas, that may impact the use as well, right? Okay.
How are people getting out there now? It sounds like it's not possible to land with a boat, or did I?
There's a spot for kayakers to go ashore or small boats, but yeah, anything larger, you'd need a float for.
Thanks.
Hey, Margaret,
Yeah,
can I ask a quick question?
yeah, and Hildegard also has her hand up when you're done.
Oh, great. I tried to raise my hand, but I couldn't find a little hand thing on the meeting here. So, hi, everyone. I'm Tim Forrester with Flycatcher, just eavesdropping in. The one thing, Margaret, when you gave your introduction to the project, you were talking about the current mapping and the current zoning. As I look at the town's shoreline zoning map, the entire island is mapped as shoreline residential. And we're talking about resource protection. So I'm just trying to understand, if the current map shows it as one, how did we get to the other?
Because it's in the flood zone and zoned shoreline residential.
But even though the map shows something different, just because it's in the flood zone, that kicks it in, like supersedes how it's mapped.
Yes, according to our shoreline zoning ordinance, yes.
Okay.
It says in 13.1.2, I think. We might have talked about it before you got on, but it defines resource protection as, one of the definitions is in the 100-year floodplain, whether or not it's depicted on the official shoreline zoning map.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And I mean, we permit docks in those zones quite often. So I don't know if that's necessarily the issue. And then for a lot of the use that's proposed, people camping, people accessing, people walking, I don't know that that's necessarily a precluded use within the flood zone or within an RP zone. So I'm just trying to understand where you're headed there.
I think, the shoreline zoning ordinance just prohibits institutional uses within RP, and this, by definition, is an institutional use.
It also prohibits campgrounds.
It also prohibits campgrounds, but not camping, just campgrounds.
Right.
That's a,
So I just thought it was just something interesting for us to be able to discuss and have this more kind of a casual format where we can work through some of these issues that we might have and work on our process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm just trying to understand as well. So.
Yeah.
As are we.
I might be able to shed some light on this. I own the property that's south of this, and there used, as somebody said, I think from Flycatcher, there used to be a dock there, exactly in that same spot. And there's a metal, kind of a pier structure. The dock was rotting, and that's why it was taken out. It was, it was not safe anymore. And so when the land trust decided to just remove the wharf had already been removed, and this was the pier going down to it. And there was a little bit of a platform on the top. It's quite a steep drop off, which is why the ramp has to be as large as what they're talking about. And I'm fairly certain that's the only spot that you could put it in that's on the land trust, because everything else muds out. I mean, even on the other side of that property, in the cove, that all muds out. So I think that's really is the best place to put it. Plus, that part of the property is where the camping occurs. There are no trees, or very few trees. It's fairly flat. You've got you've got the shed. If it rains, you can go into the shed. There's some picnic tables there. So that's kind of the natural camping area. And then the loop is for walking or if you want to swim somewhere else. People do come there now, even with motorboats, but you have to be really careful of the tide, or you spend a long time there waiting for the tide to come back in. So it's mostly kayakers, I would say right now, or people walking across the island. So this will open up to a whole nother kind of, what would I say, camper or visitor, because you're going to allow motorboats. Like right now with a motorboat, it really is pretty difficult, unless you're going to anchor it farther off and then swim in or whatever. So,
Hi, I'm Beth Dufresne. I live on the north side, the next door neighbor, and there is a mooring ball out there, and there are constant boats on it. So it's, you do have to get from your boat to the shore, but I would say all weekend long boats are moored there. So this is not preventing. It's preventing lots of boats from going, but it's not preventing people from getting there with boats.
you're saying there's a mooring there now? I'm not aware of
Yeah,
that.
that's a mooring ball.
Where?
So the beach, it's halfway between our property and the beach. So, we're on the north point. So with a little finger in the drawing. But there is a mooring ball there that is used all.
And the lady on the Zoom.
I think that's our mooring on our property. I've never seen a mooring.
I can see it all summer long. So I have pictures if you'd like to see. But there is, it is used and it is pretty constant. So,
Can you just point out on the map where it is?
yeah, so it's located right in this area right there.
So right there where it
Yeah,
starts to get deep. Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is you.
Yeah,
and
and
this
it
is
has,
her.
yeah, it has no tidal effect. The boats are there. They'll moor all weekend long.
Okay.
Okay.
Go to see this? Sorry, I like maps.
Yeah, so we're this property.
Okay.
And so,
And she's saying the mooring ball's out here, right
There.
where it hits
Okay.
the deep water.
All right.
Yep, I can see it, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You see it too, right?
I'm sorry, can you just share a little bit more information about, not just about the mooring, but I guess as an abutter, what your feelings are? Because I'm not sure if you're saying you feel like it's going to be worse or better.
I'm not opposed to the dock itself,
Okay,
but I am opposed to the unmanaged dock. And the reason I say that is, the usage goes up. There's no sign-in, there's no knowledge of who's there. There is no bathroom.
Yeah. I was
Everybody,
wondering
so
about
when you mentioned two things you didn't have to worry about, the waste
Yeah.
and the fire hydrant.
can you just step to
Sorry.
the microphone and
Yeah.
talk, please?
So there's no place to go to the bathroom, and people are staying there all weekend long.
Yeah.
And there is constant fires. I mean, it's posted, no fires, but if you've ever spent the night on an island in Maine, it's damp, it's
Yeah.
cold, it's windy. There's going to be a fire. And so my concern would be all the it's old age wood on that island, beautiful, double and triple wide trees, and the Land Trust has done an amazing job on the trail. But it's going to burn like nobody's brother. It is, if it starts, that whole island's going. And so my concern is that we need to have the rest of the story. How is the management? If you're going to increase the usage, how are you going to ensure that it's protected? So,
I would agree with you on that. The fire is a real concern.
so that's why I'm here, is I'm concerned about those two things. The Land Trust has been a great partner. I mean, we love what they've done with the trails, and glad to have people come, but those two things
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Your concern is that it might bring more people that would be unsupervised.
Yes.
It will definitely bring more people. It will
Okay.
definitely bring more people.
But there's still currently people coming unsupervised. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not-
It's just frequency. You know,
Okay.
if you have 3 people coming, you have a chance. If you have 30 people coming, you have a higher chance.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so, and you have, little mounds of toilet paper, right? Like, I mean, that's gonna, like every national park that doesn't have this is what, it's got, people go to the bathroom.
That is a concern. I was going to ask that.
My fire hydrant and my waste disposal.
Well,
Check, check.
if people are spending the night, that's the issue. If you are on a trail that's on land and you're thinking, well, I need to go home now, so I can use the facilities. But I am concerned about camping there because,
It's just, I mean, and again, we expect everyone to be respectful and follow the rules. It's cold out there on the weekends, I mean, on the nights, it's cold. I mean, it's a lovely island, but it's cold and damp.
And this goes back to the whole thing about it wasn't changed from residential to non-residential, so these things weren't considered before.
Right, they would have, in a perfect world, they would have already been
Right.
discussed.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I do just want to point out, it is a fairly small dock, mostly just targeting, visitors of the island, day visitors, probably more likely. And it will provide, it'll follow ADA standards, so, handicapped people can access the island now as well. And I'm assuming maybe boats maybe mooringed off and not necessarily, I don't know, or like anchored off and swam in or kayaked in. But I see that still happen. I think this would just be a place where people can access it safely. And yeah, I don't know if you had anything more to add.
Yeah, I sure do. Matt Newell, and I camp frequently. Both of this island and Little Birch Island, which is just to the north, are both on the main island trail already. So they are monitored by the MITA stewards routinely. In fact, I even want to back up a step further and just say that in all the times I've been out on my boat going past Birch Island, never seen a fire. I'm not saying they don't happen, but there were words used like constant, okay? There are not constantly fires burning on Birch Island in that site. And then there are definitely not constantly people camping there because, as I say, I've gone by many, many times in my boat to camp at John and Susan's spot just north of there, and there hasn't been anybody there. So, I don't want this picture to be portrayed of like, Friday through Sunday evening, there are people camping at this location. That is not true. The other thing I want to say is that the whole concept here is actually to increase the accessibility of that preserve, right? So what worries me and what I'm hearing is people wanting to limit access to this coastal resource. And, having grown up in Harpswell and knowing how little access there is to the coast, this concerns me because what I'm hearing here tonight is that if this were residential and we were to sell this to some private landowner, they'd not only be able to build a nice big home up the hill there, but they'd be able to have a dock and all kinds of other things, and nobody would care because it's residential. What we're trying to do is actually make this more accessible to people that can't go over the side of a boat. So somebody maybe like my 89-year-old mother who would still love to go out and visit a preserve but can't get over the side of a boat would only be able to do that if she could get on a dock, right? Or somebody in a wheelchair, okay? And so when this project came to us, it was one of the specific purposes was to create an ADA-compliant dock that people could access via wheelchair. So part of this is Flycatcher's work, and we have also had this design reviewed by an outfit called Outdoor Access Solutions. They are looking at the ADA compliance. They have looked at this. If this is approved, our hope is to improve the trail out there, a section of it very much like this one, right, which is a jewel, the Cliff Trail, accessible trail. We would like to create a section of the loop to be similar to the Cliff Trail. So the idea is to increase access. We don't necessarily want people camping there, and we would be happy to entertain maybe outlawing fires. We would also, the dock is not going to be permitted to be used overnight. There are going to be time limits posted, and we will increase our stewardship activities, right? As I said, MITA already does that. We have lead stewards that are focused on these island preserves, and I even think Hildegard may be a steward. So we have some neighbors who keep an eye on it for that, for those purposes, because certainly we don't want fires out there, and we don't want human waste. But that is happening on Whaleboat. I was knocking around Coag Bay earlier today and got off at Little Snow Island, right, owned by the state of Maine. There are 3 fire rings, 3 distinct camping areas over there. That's going to be a problem anywhere. So we're happy to help manage those situations. So hopefully that helps with a little bit more of like the background and why we're even doing this project in the first place. And as I say, I don't know if you can waive, I know we're, sort of going through rules and ordinances and things, but as I say, the notion that if we were not, quote, an institution, this would all be okay, I have some real problem with that, because as I say, I think you're essentially allowing, single homeowners, right, to monopolize our coastline.
I think just if it was a residential use, there would be significantly less traffic, going up and down than an institutional use. And I think it's the intensity of the use that matters in this case.
And
Presumably.
I don't think people are talking about preventing use, but I don't hear you saying how you're going to control things. Are you planning to put in latrines to deal with the waste problem? I mean, that's a real problem that will exist whether this dock goes in or not, because it already exists. Same with fire. I mean, you put up a sign and say no fire. How are you going to police that? I hate to use that word, but how are you going to be sure that people follow that? And I'm not hearing addressing the problem. I'm just hearing that you think that by asking the questions, we're trying to prevent
No.
use.
I actually did say, I said we were going to increase our stewardship activities, which is monitoring the site, and that MITA already does that, right?
But what does that mean?
That means sending.
Well, someone will be there twice a day on the weekend, someone will go by, or, what does it mean? You'll make sure you get out there twice a month? I mean,
How often is Mitchell Field, like, is there somebody there? You're going to
I
put
have no idea. I'm
Okay.
not trying to compare this to Mitchell Field.
Well, but you're asking a question about monitoring, right? And I answered that. We're going to increase the stewardship. We're going to
I don't
increase
know
the
what the present
visitation.
stewardship is, so I don't know what increase means.
Currently, it is a weekly monitoring that MITA does. Our stewards that are on the island all summer long, I presume, are probably out there daily, if not every other day, right? Checking the sites. And if there were major problems with human waste, we would have heard about it, right? I didn't hear one complaint from anybody on Birch Island last summer about fires or human waste. Not one. Do you think I would have if there were some?
I don't know.
Probably. So we do have a plan to increase the monitoring of the site. And, again, the Main Island Trail is designed on basically, the good intentions of those people using it, right? And I've gone out to Whaleboat and some of the other places where people camp, and people will go out there and anchor and paddleboard in. And, I've bumped into families of 6 from South Portland that come to Harpswell specifically and camp on Whaleboat and the Goslings and all of that. right? And yeah, you have to hope that those people are going to be good stewards of those resources, and not everybody will. But my experience, I go out to these places routinely with my family. I don't see large piles of trash. I don't see white flags all over the trails. And I also don't see a lot of people out there, right? So yeah, absolutely, the use would increase, perhaps. I mean, single
That's the
resident.
goal of the project, is to
It
increase.
is, of course it is.
So yes.
Yeah, so it is going to increase, but as I say, I don't think painting a picture of all of a sudden there being droves of people out there is really terribly accurate.
No, but we do have to think of, unfortunately, like a worst-case
Sure.
scenario. I mean, something that said camping forbidden, or overnight camping forbidden, or probably there would be fewer fires lit if people weren't camping overnight. That's just my thought.
Right, but
Yeah.
camping overnight is allowed now.
Right.
And it has been for as long as that preserve has been there.
Maybe it shouldn't be.
Well, maybe, but again,
I'm just,
I
yeah.
haven't received any complaints about fires.
This is
Thank
where we
God.
get in trouble because of this. The use changed without review, and so now then we get into this problem where we're like chasing our tails a little bit.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
one other question about
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
anytime the land trust acquires a property, does it need to go through that process?
I think that it depends. I really think nobody's going to care, really, until somebody comes in and says we want to put another structure on it. I think that it would be good practice to have it reviewed and documented that we are saying that we agree with all these things. I think that really it's just about the shed.
Right.
From
Really,
my,
I don't think anybody's going to care if people are tromping around out there. Technically, it should have gone, but
I was just going to say, from my experience of being on here for a year, I think it might be easier for you in the long run, depending on what you decide to do in the future, if you just did a site review plan when you acquired land. That's
Or
that's
when you
like my
open a preserve.
recommendation, yeah.
the only one, as far as I've been around, the only one that's been to the planning board that I know of is Tondro. Reed went when they put in the driveway, when the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah.
It might not be generally known. If I were you, I probably would not have known there was something I should be looking into doing, which is,
Right, you couldn't find it earlier,
right,
So-
it's hard to find in the ordinance, quite frankly. So,
And the one thing I do like about going through this process, probably nobody likes it but me, but it gives the abutters an opportunity to have a voice in the process, and that I feel like is really valuable. What we say is valuable, but also like letting the abutters know what's up, what's happening, what's your plan, and having everybody on the same page about it, I think is super valuable. It's a good process. Obviously, your abutters know because they're stewards of the property.
Okay, I'm looking at this, trying to see where the prohibition is for a non-commercial pier.
There is no prohibition for a non-commercial pier.
Really, I think the pier is not that,
it's the fact they're an institution and can't have
I,
pier, a dock in resource protection.
it doesn't change the rule, so, but I just would like to speak to this for just a moment. I think there's a valid point in what I do. There might be complaints, but there's not complaints to me a lot of the times, and there are a lot of residential people in Harpswell who use their individual homes in different ways, and so I'm not saying we need to bend a rule or change, but I think the dialogue of kind of thinking about what he's saying in terms of access and versus a residential that could build a big house and have fires and have their friends camping, we can't control that, and it happens more than you think in Harpswell in general. So I think that's worth noting one way or the other, that there's the same, we worry about vacation rentals and septics, and then I know Joe next door isn't a vacation rental, but has his 20 family members, and they're overusing a septic way more than something. So that I'm thinking out loud as kind of what is happening. Sometimes when we are making it all about residential and not thinking about a bigger picture and use. So that's why I said use is really, you can disagree with me all you want,
No,
but use
this is
is sort
exactly
of,
why I thought we should have a
Yeah.
workshop, because I like this discussion about the bigger picture. Like, what's the point? What's the impact?
Right.
What's the goal of the planning board? Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it does happen more than you think in different ways that it just rung a bell with me when he said that about the residential versus, because I think of septics and wells and that if I'm thinking of my other hat, that we can't control how individuals use their property. It's interesting in certain ways. And then they overuse and tax things that we don't really know about. And an individual could do that there as well with camping and stuff. I'm not saying it changes anything. It's just kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Is this the kind of use that that rule is designed to prevent?
I think that we always want to direct use away from resource protection.
Okay.
I think that, in this case, it's hard because that area is already developed. But the goal, is to not be using this area that is zoned resource protection.
What's the history like of, so I think the bigger picture here seems to be because there wasn't a previous site plan review. So
Yeah.
what's the history with the town, because I'm still sort of new on the planning board, in terms of that, because it doesn't seem like the dock is the issue, so do we go back and retroact? Like, how does that, or has it come up in other situations that you could share?
I
or
think
anybody
that it
that's
would
been
be,
here?
I think that we can't approve the dock without approving the whole site. We can't approve an addition to it without,
that kind of
approving the
answers my
change of
question.
use.
So we have to go back. That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. Kind of dial back one slot.
If this were still a residential use and the dock was built and then it was acquired by the land trust, would they still be able to use the dock?
They would just come to us for a change of use. But yeah. I think personally, my issue is the fact that the shed was built without a permit in the flood zone too close to the resource. That, I think, is my real hang-up. Obviously, the dock is permittable. I think if the shed could be moved to direct people out of resource protection, I think that would be desirable. I think that that's kind of what the ordinance is trying to do, is direct the use out of RP. Could you direct the camping and direct if you took the shed and the picnic tables maybe out of RP, I think that would be a good compromise. That's just a thought of mine.
So how big is the resource protection area? It looked like it was pretty big.
It's that whole little peninsula.
Right. How big
But-
is the shed?
I have it on here,
It's
hold on.
2,200 square feet.
Ooh.
2,200?
No, 200 square feet.
Oh,
sorry. I was gonna say.
Wow, quite a shed. The mansion shed.
20 by 10.
Yeah.
That shed was built by the previous owner, though. The land trust didn't build that. They cleaned it up, actually. So that was, right, because the previous owner, it's kind of a long story, but there's no spot there where they could build a house. And so instead, they brought a trailer, which was really awful looking. And then they built the shed because you could build the shed in places where you can't build a house. So when the land trust bought it, they really cleaned the property up. They took the trailer, got rid of the rotting wharf. And now it sounds like they should have probably kept the wharf
So
and the dock.
So what is-
residentially is in a legal spot? No.
No, it's
Okay.
like 10 feet or something from the, I don't know, I haven't been out there, but looking at pictures, it's really close to the water.
Which,
But
The shed?
just because the last person built it without a permit does not mean that It's,
No, I understand that, but I was just trying, I thought you were implying that the land trust built the shed and they didn't.
no, they acquired the shed, yeah.
I just
I
want
think the
to.
shed was
What's the use of the
2010.
shed?
According to the Land Trust website, it's a place where you can go in out of the rain, I think is what the website said.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You can store your stuff in there if it's raining, and
Yeah.
it's just a big empty shed. There's nothing in it other than kids put stuff in there that they find, feathers. You know.
Shows it on this map.
Yes, it's on there.
Yep.
Because this survey was done before the Land Trust, or at maybe before the Land Trust acquiring the property.
I'm just also thinking, you might be able to share your thoughts on this. Just a thought. Would increasing the stewardship, is that the correct word that I want to use, actually help the current situation of mooring or not? Obviously, it would increase day visitors if we allow the pier, but would that also possibly be helping overnight camping reduction, if that makes sense?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You know, and again, the issue is you don't see the fires unless it's at night. They're not monitoring at night. I do have a picture, and again, it's from 21, but we do not want to be the patrol. You know, we also have tried to be a good neighbor and just like not complain.
Yeah.
Because what are we going to do about it? When we have people that kayak up to our dock and say, would you mind if we put a fire there tonight? And I go, you know, we say the ordinance, I mean, the land purely says no fires. Mm-hmm. You need to talk to the land trust. That's mm-hmm. not us. But, you know, but like I said, they are, and you can see evidence of ashes and stuff. And so, you know, I think that if there wasn't camping, it would be less of an issue because I don't want to stop people from coming there. Again, it's beautiful. We invite people there because it's so beautiful. But it has to be responsible. Somebody's got to be responsible for it. And when you think about a residential versus this, a resident has a name on their ownership of their house. If there's an issue, they will be held accountable. Mm-hmm. There's no sign up, there's no names, there's no accountability. You know, and it will come back to the land trust, but honestly, you know, that's just going to be so messy. And that's the piece. That's where, when I say I'm worried about increase, it's the increased usage without accountability. And I don't think that, I mean, again, during the day, do people behave well? Yeah, it's not a crazy crew that, you know, kayakers are not going out there and being crazy.
Yeah.
It's not Jewel Island in the 90s.
No. Yeah. And it hasn't, I mean, COVID was a little crazy. There were, you know, we'd have 5 or 6 boats in that cove during COVID, but, you know, everyone's going back to doing all the things you could do before COVID, so that's outdoors doesn't have the same appeal. Mm-hmm. But that's, you know, so that's where my concern is. It's really the nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Margaret, are you suggesting that if the shed were to be moved, that what we would actually be doing is decreasing, even with the addition of the dock, decreasing the impact within the Resource Protection District?
Definitely, don't you think?
No, I was asking you.
I think it would direct people away from this area where you don't want the intensive use. And it would get us around the fact that it was built too close to the resource, presumably without a permit.
Okay.
But I think what it's going to do is just increase the camping space. You're just going to allow that many more people to camp there because it's.
If the shed is moved?
Yeah, because
Okay.
the shed is sort of a natural barrier. And you take that away, that's where people camp. That's where, I mean, most of the people that I've seen anyway. And it's often different families. It's not necessarily one big party. So they'll stake out their claim and put their tent up. And I think I don't know why that's not going to minimize the use of the space, I don't think, by removing the shed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're still stuck with the institution problem.
I
right?
think that if the shed was moved out of RP, I think that would move like the institutional use out of RP a little bit.
Okay,
Because then all people are doing is like walking across the property, you know?
okay,
Instead
so
of you
if we had,
engaging in the institutional use in RP. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean,
So you're distinguishing between an institutional ownership and an institutional use, right?
I think I would think, but I like Heather's side comment she just had to me, but if you moved the structures out of RP, that would maybe move some of the use out as well.
Right, because people will go where the picnic tables are.
Or the shed,
they'll-
or- yeah.
Where the shed is, they'll,
My side comment was I think we needed a site walk.
A
Yeah.
site visit.
well,
Yeah, I think
I
you're
just
right.
in thinking about the shed being moved versus not being moved, but we don't.
Yeah, it's really difficult to.
It's hard to say if that would increase camping or not camping.
Yeah.
Not that I don't trust either of the ladies over here, but.
Okay, have you given any thought to, you know, a lot of these things just kind of come up at these meetings. Have you given any thought to the location of the shed or moving it or?
I mean, I think that we would consider just removing it or entirely. I mean, I think that was on the table at one point.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and they went out maybe 3 years ago and put a new roof on it because that was, you know, deemed necessary. But again, I think understanding why we are doing this in the first place, I think the dock would probably be more important to us than the shed.
Yeah, okay.
well, if you have a beautiful piece of property and,
I mean, the shed-
want people to be able to,
Yeah.
you know, access it. I mean, we saw this with the Clark Cove issue
Right.
that was on the ballot because so many there are people who are on the water and great, but most people are not and cannot access places like that. And certainly it's good for Harpswell if we're able to make that happen, but I am concerned about overnight camping and what that can do. And people do have to use the bathroom, you know? It's, I don't know whether, of course, who wants to get involved with putting a porta potty, then you have to have the thing pumped out, but,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I would think
that's
if,
endemic to the whole.
Right.
Yeah, that seems.
but if nobody
system,
were
yeah.
sleeping there, there would be less chance of an absolute necessity for that. I mean,
What about that? What about the idea of the site walk?
I think it's a great idea. I think this is a place that it would probably be really valuable for us to see the site, see how it's developed, how it's used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
how come we didn't have one?
Mostly because the weather this time of year is unpredictable. And so,
On a boat.
yeah,
Harbor Master's boat, maybe?
the harbor master can only take up to 6 or 8. The harbor master boat is really small. I think we had talked to you guys maybe about you shuttling us. Is that true?
Yep.
The harbor master can take a couple, but probably not the planning board and the abutters and the land trust. So,
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
And maybe Margaret, this is actually a question for you. The difference when people are camping on a different island, whaleboat. So is that residentially owned or does the town own it? I just feel like I should know this. I've camped on many of those islands in my younger days. Versus here, because the land trust owns it, is there a difference in terms of what our expectations are for taking care of it? If there's overnight camping and those types of things. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around all that.
and I had a similar question.
Yeah.
And this is just maybe from my understanding, but what other preserves on islands have wharves? Is that typical, atypical? Is this going to be kind of a special situation?
Yeah, I mean, we don't own any wharves, but like, for instance, Booth Bay Region Land Trust, not only do they own several recreational wharves, they actually own a commercial fishing wharf. So we've actually been talking to them a lot about the idea of, how's it going? How do you maintain this?
I feel like we've heard about that.
What's that?
I feel like we've heard about that maybe when we talked about housing trusts, maybe?
Yeah. So they have a lot of experience in wharf ownership. It certainly isn't, I mean, we would probably see this as a one-off. Like, I do not think we are going to start installing docks on all our preserves. But we really see it, again, the people behind this project had been talking to Main Island Trail Association. And their one goal is to increase access to main islands. And I think it's very much like what Courtney was saying. The spirit of this is, isn't it lovely for all the people who own waterfront property or have a place on an island or have a boat to be able to do that? And there are a lot of people in Maine who don't. And so, what we would see doing is actually guided birding tours. We would do some programming to bring groups of people out there with guides and so on. And truthfully, I think we would be open to the idea of if people were concerned and thought that this site should be camping prohibited, I think we'd be open to discussing that for sure. As I say, it is currently on the Main Island Trail. And to your question, Heather, I don't know if we're being held to a different standard, but the Goslings, those can be reserved. I mean, there are people, you go to the Goslings and, that anchorage is full all the time. And there are lots of people, paddleboarding back and forth to those islands. I don't know if there's a privy there or not. But, there is this, the spirit of island camping is you carry in and carry out. Use wag bags, it's not super fun.
Right.
But if you're doing it the way you're supposed to, it's a carry in, carry out situation. And that applies to all of these, including the state-owned properties over in Cohog Bay. So, but as I say, I think for us, we really want to honor this idea of there being an accessible preserve, island preserve, for not only maybe elderly people that can't kayak, can't get over a gunnel, or people with disabilities that could go out to a place like this and actually have a trail like this one. They could experience that a little bit. I understand and appreciate resource protection for sure. So it isn't as if I want to thumb my nose at that.
No, not at all.
And the trick with this particular preserve is there just is no other access point. And if you go out and you do this site visit, you'll see that historically this has been the place where there has been activity. So it isn't new. As far as there was a boys' camp on Birch Island, there was a girls' camp on Birch Island. I mean, there's a long history of use. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You have public comment?
Was there,
Yeah, I had a question. And just to explain to me the resource protection part, what are we protecting that just curiosity, I'm not arguing, but what are we protecting that the shed would potentially damage? Is it erosion or?
I think it's just trying to limit use in environmentally sensitive areas.
Okay,
Restrict use, limit use.
so that's people.
Yes.
In other words, you're trying, because it's resource protected, you want to limit the number of people that can go there? And the shed, but
I think it's the intensity of use, yeah.
I
I still don't understand
Are
how
you
the.
thinking, Margaret, that people would congregate more by the shed and that is part of
Well, the first standard in the site plan, so site plan review ordinance, we looked at section 14, which is completeness. Section 15 is the performance standards. And the first one is 15.1 in the site plan review ordinance says, the plan for development must meet the dimensional requirements of basic land use ordinance or shoreline zoning ordinance pertaining to lot areas, setbacks, and permeable surface coverage, structural height, and frontage. And the shed just doesn't meet that. So if you moved it, then we would get rid of this non-conforming issue and then maybe draw some of that intensity of use outside of this environmentally sensitive area. That was just a thought, an idea, but I think that an idea of a site walk is really,
Yeah,
really helpful. And also, I think that if the board could kind of give me a temperature on how you guys are feeling, I can work on draft motions before we reconvene next
okay.
to talk about.
So is it the consensus that we'd like to have a site walk out there?
I would.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we, why don't we do that? And, you know, are there any other, have you identified any other major issues that we should be discussing tonight before we go?
I haven't really, I think it would really be really helpful if the land trust provided a statement or something saying what the use is out there,
Okay.
what the intent is behind adding the dock, kind of some of the standards of what they expect from people out there.
Yeah.
I think having that in the record would be really helpful, because
Yeah,
that would
pretty
help us
much.
all know where they stand.
Yeah, pretty much putting in writing what you've talked about
Yeah.
tonight. Just to
Exactly.
have it on the record. All right, well, hearing that, then why don't we schedule a site walk? And then put this on the agenda for next month following a site walk.
Does that work for your timeline?
Sure.
Cool.
Is there a point in having a change of use application put in? Or has that boat already sailed?
I
Good metaphor.
Hey,
think it depends on how you guys are feeling. Are you feeling satisfied? I think that once we get his information about the use, I think that would be adequate.
Yeah,
okay. I just don't want to drag
them
them
come up,
around, you know, and say, fix the wharf thing, and then we say, oh, but now you need to apply for a change of use, because they could have been doing that in the interim while we're waiting for the site walk. I just don't want, have you waste your time, so.
okay, then I guess the question is what works best in terms of availability for a site walk?
Typically, we do a site walk the second Monday of the month. Right?
Right, we have housing committee.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, on that Monday.
Nope, we
Isn't
have it
it?
on the first and third Mondays.
Okay, so I'm sorry, which Monday is it? That's the second Monday?
The second Monday
Sorry.
of the month is usually when we have site walk, so if that
Okay.
May 11th works for everybody, I can work with the land trust for scheduling something. Yeah?
Sure.
Cool.
Okay. So I'd like to have as many members of the planning board
Yeah.
able to come as can.
Some
What
of
does
us
your
will be
schedule
swimming.
look like for that, Heather?
Huh? I'm putting it in my calendar now so that I can.
You're putting priority in there?
Yes.
And since you're recently retired,
Yeah, I can, that one.
you can do that?
We usually do them at 2.
Two.
Hey, Margaret.
Yes, yeah.
It might be good not to schedule it for low tide, just because if it's low tide, you can't go around the north side of the island, but at mid tide or higher, you can get there from there, and then in smaller boats.
Do you
That way you
have
don't
a
have to go
chart?
around the south side where it's more exposed.
Well, he seems to
Are
already
you
know.
saying that in the afternoon on Monday, the 11th is low tide?
I'm saying that on the 11th, low tide is 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes. All right.
So in the morning on the 11th.
Do you guys want to pick a different day in the afternoon?
Let's see, where are we? May.
Matter to me. I can do more.
We'd have to see how much further that pushes us along for like another afternoon. 'Cause
Yeah.
it takes a while for the tide to,
Yeah, and
come
I don't
around
have
again.
any other planning board applications for next month right now. And if something did, yeah,
so it's either the morning on that day
for a different day.
or a different day.
Or the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be in the evening.
Okay, let's see.
I don't have anything on the 11th, so
Fine with
I
me.
await your ruling.
By 5 PM, it would be fine.
Yeah.
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 I may not be able to be there then, but if the rest of you are going, that's fine.
Well, it would be good to have you.
I just already have a meeting at 5 on that day.
I understand. Yeah. We haven't brought
What
up.
about the previous Monday on the 4th?
That would also work.
That works for me too.
Hey, Tim, what's the
Happy
tide
birthday.
on Monday, the 4th in the afternoon?
It is high tide at 2:00.
Cool. Does
Well
that
then.
work for everybody?
May 5?
Okay.
The 4th, I thought you just.
Or
May 4th?
May 4?
Cool. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So,
All right, I'll work
Site
on
sale.
coordinating a trip between you guys and the harbor master. If Hildegard, if you want to, do you want to come with us?
I'm in New York.
Oh, that's it.
so you
Do wanna
probably
come
would
with
like
us?
to.
Otherwise, I'd love to, yeah.
Say that again? Okay. Okay. So
Bummer.
it sounds like we're gonna do a site walk on May 4th, and then we'll be back to discuss this on May 20th, which is the next planning board meeting. It will be here in person and also available by Zoom, just like this one. You won't get notified again by mail. So you can check our agenda. The Zoom link will be in there if anybody's interested, and all the material, as always, will be posted on our website prior to the meeting.
Is that 2:00?
That's what I put.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
give or take whatever works for everybody,
okay.
but I'll let you
And a
guys know.
boat. or
And I'll
boats.
also put the site walk information on the website in case anybody else is interested in going.
All right,
Yeah. Any other butters pop up?
good.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. This has been
Yeah.
enlightening. We're very happy to hear from the abutters as well, to get an idea of what the history is there too. And I think the fact that we're going to be able to get out there and eyeball the thing will give us a much better idea of how to proceed.
Yeah.
So we will continue this matter until next month.
And you'll vote on that? You want to vote on
Yeah,
continuing it?
yeah. I move that we continue this matter until our next regular planning board meeting. There's support.
Oh, seconded.
Discussion?
None. Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Courtney Snelling's aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything's so complicated.
Yeah.
Well, that was enlightening.
Yeah.
All right.
It would-
We have no other matters of new business. We do have a matter of old business, which continues to be on the agenda of consideration of proposed bylaw amendments. I'd suggest we delay that to the next meeting as well, especially if we don't have any new, anything else
Well,
coming up.
Let's do it.
can
All
you?
right.
I'll send it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send it and I'll put it, yes. How about I put
put
it
in
on the
big,
web?
bold,
I'll put it on the
read.
website with the rest of the applications.
Very good.
Okay.
I'm sure I've got that.
And the goal
sure I have
really,
too.
the goal of the bylaw amendments is to reduce, the bylaws require us to do a lot of advertising, and we're trying to do less advertising, because we don't get a lot of return our investment.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ordinance does, and state law still require a significant amount of it, but the bylaws is like an easy step to take for us. Could be easy if anybody would vote on it.
Okay.
But we have to talk about it first.
I hope I really liked having a discussion about the project before we were expected to vote on it. I found that really beneficial. This was a unique situation, but I think that if this is kind of something that you guys like, I would love to be able to have without people coming in and expecting to get approved at the same meeting for site plan review, having a discussion and really understanding the scope of the project, I think is really helpful.
Well, the only, this is a really unique situation, which really made it good as a learning curve for all of us. I'm just thinking that if we were to use this process with everything, we'd have to take a late night snack, because it would,
Site plan review.
You missed the last meeting, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was
Sorry.
eating, I had oatmeal under the table, and I was picking it up and eating a bite every so often because I literally didn't have time for dinner.
But I think this is a matter
never had
where
time
we
for
can,
dinner
where
before
we can
this.
kind of triage the applications we have. And if they're fairly standard things, we can kind of go through it.
Yeah.
But to let an applicant know that due to the complicated nature of this,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to be, we will likely not make a decision at the first meeting. But that
I-
will have a discussion similar to this one.
I would say especially the ones that you want us to have some ownership on thought, like, I
Yeah.
feel like we come in here a lot of times and, Margaret, what do you
That's
think?
'cause
You know?
Margaret- 'cause
I know,
Margaret
she's
knows
very smart
everything.
and
That's
really
the
good at
problem.
it, but there are complicated ones that I think we need some ownership on, so she doesn't get in trouble if we're, I don't mean
Yeah.
trouble is not the right word, but
Yeah.
that, the complicated ones make sense to have more of a discussion.
It
Yeah,
was
I love that.
okay for one. If I had
Yeah.
3,
Yes.
that I couldn't have
Yeah.
handled it because I spent hours
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
up stuff and
Yeah.
checking what's an institution and other,
That's a good point, too.
yeah, other applications that we'd had where we'd approved a resource protection dock and
Yeah.
what the circumstances were. I mean, I was down a lot of rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but you're good.
But,
And
you know,
I'm
this
just
is
like-
also a good way of getting these kinds of discussions out in front of the public.
Yeah.
And also, when we're looking at areas in which areas where we need to either clarify or streamline the ordinances that give us a basis for doing that too.
Yeah.
And I know you're thinking about that maybe a little too, aren't you?
Always.
I'm
Yeah.
always thinking about
Yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah.
always job one. Okay, do you have any announcements? Or
I
a
didn't
planning
even-
report?
I didn't even think about announcements. I don't think so. I don't think tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just have a request.
Okay.
This was another application where the zone, no zone was circled. The actual one that I got, no zone was
Totally.
circled. But the one online had shoreline protection circled, which was weird. But this was also resource protection. And I've always gone there first to see where the zone is, rather than having to read through everything and then say, okay, we're now referring to shoreline zoning. But maybe if codes were willing, just to make sure that that gets circled for us on the application.
I think part of it is that we get a digital application from them, so we're not taking our paper copy and scanning it from Flycatcher. We're getting just a
Okay.
PDF.
Because there was another one recently, I don't remember whom it was from, it's just that it needs to be there.
I totally agree with you. It's foundational information.
I mean, maybe there's a way that something could be bolded if it's online.
Yeah.
You know, something that could be done.
I'm sure we can edit the PDF too to circle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to bring that up.
Tother
One other thing before we adjourn is, one thing we're going to have to do at the next meeting is do the election of the officers as well. Since Amy is going to be no longer here. So that'll probably be one of the first things, I would think the first thing on the agenda. So,
Yeah,
okay.
every committee is going to have to do election of officers. I'll
we
tell
need
you that
another
in our
person,
bylaws,
don't
this
we?
is not very exciting, but in our bylaws, it calls for a secret ballot. We always do it by hands, but would you guys be okay with doing a secret ballot?
Sure,
Sure.
Cool. I kind of feel like that is a good process.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. I'm going to bring some little piece of paper then.
Very good, little post-it notes.
Yeah.
So we need another member, do we not?
We are short one.
There's a,
Because
you have
Amy's,
another application.
oh, is there somebody else who's
We
applying?
got another application the same time we got Debbie's.
Okay.
So I can see if she's still interested.
Oh, okay, that'd
Oh, I
be
thought
terrific.
There might be one more, is there
Oh,
not?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
always get notified. Sometimes,
Well, because my 1-year associate was up, so I talked with Tina
yeah.
on the phone, so I don't remember the person's name, but.
Yeah.
You did re-up, right? Okay, very
But
good.
but you're only looking to be an associate still, is that correct, or no?
No.
Oh, you'd like to be a regular member?
It's better if I can vote. I just mean I'm more, I'm like sitting here not like,
No,
oh,
I
I don't
understand.
get.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I obviously am a detail person, like what's the ordinance say, what's the compliance with the ordinance? But I appreciate this, really appreciate this conversation about kind of the big picture and the intention, and that's something that is helpful to get from you guys.
It's good to look at both sides,
Yeah.
big and small.
Yeah, especially somebody who can look at AI and say, here, put this together, tell us how this all works.
Right.
You know, the fact that you're able to do that just boggles my
That you
mind.
can, we were talking about this, the ordinances, putting them in AI to make a cross-reference.
God, that would be,
Did we talk about this? I forgot.
We, at a workshop, you
Yeah.
weren't there.
Oh, interesting.
I just still have it written on my.
I think that'd be fabulous.
that would be great, but also we could maybe ask ChatGPT, don't ever say to my husband that I'm using it, because I've been kidding him, calling him his BFF. Chat. But it
You've
would-
been shaming him, now you're using
I
it.
have, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? But it would be great if somehow we could have more accessible language while still making it necessarily legal.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily,
Yeah.
we have an attorney in the group. I have no law background, and sometimes I want to kick these things.
We
And
could have,
sometimes you want to kick me because
we could have used you last meeting for that, because it was a,
It's like,
well, you know, it's especially, you know, since this is tax day, you realize that according to the tax code, that all individuals are persons, but not all persons are individuals.
well,
what you
Okay.
said.
anyway, it would be nice to have something that would be easier to work with, and I think of somebody like Matt. You know, somebody gives you a preserve for the land trust, how wonderful. Who's going to think, oh, I need to have a change of
No
use
one.
here?
I
Nobody.
wouldn't know.
That's why I feel like a little bit of
Nobody.
grace in
Yeah.
knowing that,
Oh, yeah.
So is there a change in tax status, though, when it changes from residential to non-residential?
probably.
Probably. I bet
So
the
did
land
they
trust
have
doesn't pay tax, do they?
Change in, but they'd still
This is a
have to
nonprofit.
register if they don't pay tax. If that land came out of the tax
If they're getting
records.
they're getting a benefit by
Yeah.
getting, that's an
Yeah,
interesting
is
question.
there, I mean, did
Yeah.
that happen? I can't imagine they're paying
I think
taxes.
some of it's probably part of it is or was in tree growth, which is a tax program.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the Nortons now, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You'll entertain it, or you're making a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'm an entertainer.
Why, so you are.
Okay. I move we adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye, because there's nobody
You're
on there.
adjourned.
Yeah.
8:03.